Hello everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video. Today, surprise, surprise, we are talking about Percy Jackson Season 2. So in the past couple of weeks, we've gotten quite a bit of information on the filming of Percy Jackson Season 2. It started about 2 weeks ago when Percy Jackson was spotted filming on a public beach in British Columbia, Canada. There were signs posted up all around this beach saying that Percy Jackson was going to be filming both on water and on land, meaning they had to shut down more than half of this public beach for filming. Now, okay, I personally didn't have any problems with the use of the volume screen in Season 1. Specifically the use of the volume screen for the beach scenes, like the fight with Ares. For me, I think a volume screen is a really great tool to use for a project if you don't necessarily have the budget or just the means to get yourself out to a practical filming location. Especially if it's used correctly, I think the volume screen does have a lot of benefits. Like if you use it well, I think it looks fine. Now, that being said, I think it is literally so insane and so cool that Percy Jackson now has the budget to shut down a public beach to film some scenes like on location. If that in itself doesn't show the budget increase from Season 1 to Season 2, I don't know what does. We even got a photo of smoke being like intentionally released over this beach to give like the foggy, smoky sort of setting. And it's definitely giving budget increase for sure. Then videos were released of people who were able to stand like on the barrier of where they shut the beach down, and they were able to see the actors in action. So the first video we got was a video of Walker and Dior filming a fight sequence. And I don't think this is something that happens in the book, if I'm remembering correctly, which I should be remembering correctly because I just reread the Sea of Monsters book, which you can go and watch me reread it in my reading vlog that I just posted last week, that you should totally check out, by the way. But I think that this is probably a scene that's going to be added into the show. Most likely after the whole Monster Donut and Hydra scene, where Clarice and her crew find Percy, Tyson, and Annabeth. In the book, Clarice just like blows up the Hydra, and then she brings Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson onto her ship. If I had to guess, this scene of Percy and Clarice fighting would probably be after Clarice or Percy if they change it, but they're probably keeping it the same. This sequence probably happens after the Hydra is killed. And knowing Clarice, she's very hot-headed, so she's probably really mad seeing that Percy left camp and is seemingly trying to like take over her quest. If this is where I think this fight scene is going to be, I really like that they're adding this fight scene between Percy and Clarice. I think that it pays a really good homage to the fight they have in Season 1 during Capture the Flag. I think that this will be a really great way to see how Percy has improved as a swordsman and to also see how Clarice's fighting style has developed since we last saw her in action. I also think that this fight scene will serve as a great full circle moment between the characters of Percy and Clarice, because we're going to go from seeing them fighting each other to seeing them fight together against Polyphemus at the end of the season. Plus, from what I can see in this video, the fight choreography looks really dynamic. I mentioned this in my reading vlog, but I can't wait to see more of Clarice in Season 2, simply because I just think her aura as a character is really incredible on screen, and she's a pretty badass fighter, so I'm happy to see her getting more fight scenes and stun work. The next video we got was of Walker, Daniel, and Aaliyah on the same beach, while what I can only assume is Clarice and her army of undead soldiers are like walking up to them. This adds to why I believe this is probably after Clarice kills the Hydra. It's kind of really the only logical point in the book that they would be able to add a fight between Clarice and Percy. Plus, in another longer video we got, we can see Tyson and Percy like laying down on the sand before they stand up to meet Clarice, which is pretty much exactly how they are in the book when Clarice kills the Hydra, because Annabeth yells, "Hit the dirt," and they lay down on the ground so they don't get blasted by a cannon. So that pretty much does it for the scenes on this beach. Then later in that week, of course, we got the casting news for Thalia. In the video that I made covering the Thalia casting announcement, I shared that Rick told us that he was going to be talking more about this casting news during his virtual events for his upcoming book, Wrath of the Triple Goddess. And since I've made my video, it has been confirmed that Tamara Smart will be portraying Thalia with a British accent. I've seen a lot of people be very opinionated on this, but it doesn't really bother me at all, honestly. If anything, I think the rivalry between Percy and Thalia is just going to be even better now that she's British, because now the writer's room can really play into the whole US versus UK debacle. Like, Percy can literally make fun of Thalia's accent and then Thalia can like push him down a hill. So I think it's going to be great. Also, last week, some more set pictures were released from them filming in public. A lot of cast members were seen on set this day, including our main trio, Tyson, Sally Jackson, Luke, and Clarice. So basically, they had everybody there that day. In these photos, you can see behind them signs that say Port Jefferson, which is a little village on the north shore of Long Island. And I've been trying to figure out what scenes they could be filming here. And quite honestly, my mind is like a little bit all over the place. I think the most confusing part about this is the fact that Virginia Cole is on set as Sally Jackson, because quite honestly, she really isn't in the Sea of Monsters that much once Percy leaves for camp. So they're for sure adding something in, which I'm fine with because I love Virginia Cole as Sally Jackson and I want to see more of her. One possible thing that they could have been filming is that when Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson take the hippocampy out to Luke's ship at the very beginning of the book, they could be replacing this happening at Camp Half-Blood and instead making it so that Percy maybe calls his mom and she has to drive them to Port Jefferson. And I'm a little bit more convinced of this because there's a video of Virginia driving around Walker, Leah, and Daniel. And she's in a car with a New York license plate on it. So now, how would Percy call his mom when demigods don't have cell phones? I don't know, okay? I'm not in the writer's room. That's not for me to figure out. Maybe Hermes contacts Sally Jackson for Percy. Maybe Poseidon gets involved. Who's to say? I do still hope that they introduce the hippocampy like early on though, instead of just fully eliminating it from this specific scene. Because the hippocampy do become like a pretty important and vital part of the book later on. So I do think they need to be introduced in the beginning. Like maybe they arrived to the port a little too late and Luke's ship is already undocked, so they have to take the hippocampy out to his boat anyways. But hey, like I said, I'm not in the writer's room. I don't know what's going on. Now, Arian and Dior being on set this same day is a little confusing because they kind of have nothing to do with the scene that I just mentioned. But they definitely did film multiple scenes in this general area because there's also photos on this same set with like Montauk signs behind them. And Montauk and Port Jefferson are nowhere near each other. They also don't go to Montauk in Sea of Monsters, so this could either be something they're adding in or it could be a flashback. I don't know. Virginia Cole was seen filming for Sally Jackson in front of these buildings with the Montauk signs. And apparently she was running. So maybe Percy's having a nightmare about his mom or something. There's also the possibility that they filmed the scenes that happen after they retrieve the fleece, when Clarice goes to bring the fleece back to camp, and then Luke kidnaps Percy, Annabeth, Grover, and Tyson. My brain actually hurts from trying to dissect what's going on in all of these set photos from this day. So I guess I'm just gonna have to wait and be surprised when the show comes out. If you have any idea what they could have been filming on these days, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to see your theories. Throughout this past week, Rick has been doing a lot of press for his new book release. And thankfully, in this press run, we've gotten some information about season 2. In an interview with Forbes, Rick confirms a couple of things from the book coming to life. Things such as Clarice's ironclad ship, pretty insane chariot race stunts, and hilarious moments in the Grey Sisters taxi. In an interview with People, Rick confirmed that there will be flashbacks throughout season 2 of Percy Jackson. He said the season will cut away and fill in some of the history of characters through flashbacks to help the viewers really understand the backstory of these characters more deeply. Rick also makes sure to tease that Thalia Grace will be included in some of these flashbacks, practically confirming what I've been theorizing all along, and that we're going to be getting Thalia, Luke, and young Annabeth flashbacks. Rick says, and I quote, "The beauty of doing Sea of Monsters on the TV screen is that all those little stories that Annabeth tells us about her background with Luke and Thalia in the book aren't just stories, you can actually see them happening in her flashbacks." I personally feel very vindicated by this news because I've been advocating for young Annabeth flashbacks practically since season 2 got renewed. And a lot of people were calling me crazy, saying things like, no, there's no way they're going to keep the Thalia actor reveal for the end of the season. But in my reread of Sea of Monsters, which, like I mentioned, you can go and watch my reading vlog of, I really noticed just how many opportunities there are to include flashbacks where it genuinely makes sense narratively. There's the moment when Annabeth knows about a hideout on Virginia Beach that's near Monster Donut, and she knows about it because of her past with Thalia and Luke. There's the whole moment when Annabeth tells us why she's afraid of Cyclopses. Not to mention, on top of those, flashbacks will help add to the emotional weight of both Luke, betraying them and poisoning Thalia's tree, and also the emotional weight of Thalia coming back to life at the end of the season. Plus, people perpetually complained about season 1 doing too much telling and not enough showing. So, now we're getting shown these memories in flashbacks. Not to mention, we could still probably expect flashbacks of young Percy and Sally because the actor who plays young Percy Jackson has been back for season 2 plenty of times. So the notion of getting multiple flashbacks I think is very, very exciting because that means I'm just this much closer to getting a flashback of young Sally Jackson and Poseidon. As I film this video, we're about to be in the month of October, meaning that Percy Jackson season 2 only has the months October, November, December, and January left of filming, which is kind of insane. Like, time is flying by because it feels like literally just yesterday season 2 got renewed, but that was like months ago. I mentioned this in my video about the Thalia casting, but Percy Jackson is confirmed to be going to D23 in Brazil, which takes place on the second weekend in November. So by then, it's honestly really possible that we could be getting our first teaser trailer of Percy Jackson season 2. Something very small, obviously, similar to like the first teaser trailer we ever got back at D23 in 2022, I believe, where it was like 50 seconds. It was just Percy like walking through Camp Half-Blood with a narration of the book. But hey, that teaser trailer made me cry. So I'm down for anything that they give me. Honestly, at this point, Percy Jackson could give us any sort of news, any sort of photos, any sort of small snippet video, and the fandom will go crazy over it, and that's part of the reason why I love this fandom so much. Whenever we get any sort of news, whenever we get any sort of crumbs, we are on it, and everyone is so excited about what they're seeing, and I love when that happens. But that pretty much does it for this filming update of Percy Jackson season 2. Hopefully next time we do one of these updates, we have something pretty big to share. I'm thinking maybe a casting announcement, maybe something more concrete when it comes to the filming instead of people just filming from like 50 feet away. Fingers crossed, of course. Like I've said multiple times in this video already, make sure you go and check out the reading vlog that I posted last week of me reading The Sea of Monsters. It's a very different kind of video for me, but I had so much fun doing it, and I definitely plan to do more. If you're someone who's been meaning to reread Sea of Monsters, but you haven't really had the time, I think my video might be a really great way for you to get a refresher on certain things that happen in the book, because basically I'm just doing verbal annotations the entire time. So definitely make sure you go and check that out. As per usual, follow me on all my other social medias. Make sure you check out my podcast with my boyfriend, and make sure you check out my Patreon. Both my free and paid members get a lot of my YouTube videos early. Plus, this week we will be watching the Lightning Thief movie over there, so you don't want to miss that. Not to mention, you can watch the entire Percy Jackson show with me, etc., etc. Lots of other TV shows and movies. It's a fun time, so make sure you check that out. The link is in the description down below. But that pretty much does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.